So in this video, I'm going to take you through one of my favourite drills to mastering the Ocean Walker technique. It's the roll, rolling from side to side and only pulling when you're on the side. Now that's very different to the conventional way of rotating, which is through the chest and the shoulders. Now, if we think about other sports like golf, tennis, stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking, climbing, running, they're all coming from the hips first. That's where the power's generated. Look at a boxer, it's hips, and then the arm follows the hips. So what we need to do is learn how to activate the hips first. Now that might sound easy, but generally in swimming, we've been taught to lead with the chest and shoulders. So how do we get the hips going first and the arm and chest following the hips? So that's what I'm going to teach you here. I go through this in a lot of detail in Ocean Walker Vimeo, how you build up the stroke. So check it out, Ocean Walker Vimeo, subscribe to that. There's only 21 videos already and I add one every month. Check it out, guys. So back to the video. Okay, so every time I look to enter the water here with my arm, I roll the feet to the other side, and the rules of this is I can't pull until I'm on my side. Now, why don't I want to pull until I'm on my side? That's because I want to get used to only pulling on my side because it's less body mass through the water. If I pull myself early, let's say I pull myself now, just before, I'm going to pull more body mass, which means I'm heavier, and also it means more drag. So the rules of this drill is, can I roll my feet from one side to the other? In other words, can my top hip get to the bottom before I pull? Now, what you can't do is push that arm. You can't push that front arm like now and pull your weight round. You've got to let that front arm just drop down in the water, and it's got to be the feet that turn from one side to the other. Now, if you can master this, the Ocean Walker technique is this with a kick in the middle, and therefore being pure hip rotation. So we're firing the hips round. But it's not that easy. It looks easy here, but you're rolling your feet from one side to the other. You're trying to kick your hip up. Now, how do we kick the hip up for not sinking without kicking? Well, what we have to do, and you've heard me say it before, is get that arm a bit deeper, 40-45 degrees to pull weight. Also, get that chest over the wall. So imagine the rib cage is pushing over this invisible wall, which is meaning that you're swimming more downhill. That helps the hip come up more, so it's like that seesaw action. So eyes are looking down, so head is neutral, arm is in that 45, chest is pushing down into the water. And once my feet, like roll, pull now, roll, pull now, roll, pull now. So I can't pull early and I can't take my front arm into the water from a drive. I need to guide it. Imagine the steering wheel is on the feet and that arm just dives down into the water. What that means is I'm generating that pure power through the hips, because obviously in the Ocean Walker technique, which you'll learn from Ocean Walker Vimeo, that incorporates the leg back into the stroke, which gives you a big glide. So if you can master this without kicking, then it's going to be much easier to do it incorporating a kick. So to give you some guidance on that front arm, you want to keep at that 40-45 degree angle with the wrist wrapped around the water. Try not to let it float up to the surface, because then you'll push water down. So part of this drill is to keep that arm downwards. As you roll the feet to the other side, you've then got to pull from that position and not let the arm float up. You never want the wrist and hand above the elbow, because you're going to always push water down. So make sure that the wrist and hand is always lower than the elbow in order to push water back, and there'll be no pressure on the shoulder as well. But it'll be much easier to pull water back from that lower position. But it is harder with this drill. You've got to really focus on pointing it down towards the floor in that 40-45 degree angle. It's the sort of position you would have if you were diving into the water. And remember, that lower position helps the hip come up, the feet come up, and it also helps to pull water back without any pressure on the shoulder. The higher the arm and hand, particularly if the wrist is higher than the elbow, the more you've got to curve your wrist around the water and get that unnatural high elbow. They call it over the barrel, no good for the shoulder at all. So we want to avoid that, want it nice and low, and try and be even on both sides. What you do on the right, we also want it on the left, and then you're pulling back to the groin and pulling to a bent elbow once you've pulled back. But do not allow it to float up higher than the elbow, because as I say, that's where the problems occur. Okay, I hope that helps. All the best.